Tonight's meeting of the Orange County Transportation Council Planning Committee meeting to order. Um, we'll start with in-person roll call. So I'm going to ask everyone to please state your full name and affiliation as we go around the room.
Cheryl Baker from the Village of Belgium.
Daryl, thank you for joining us. Alan Sorensen, Orange County Appointment.
Full Farmer in CTOC. Also, City of River.
Rob Drawling, Town of Blooming Grove.
Jacob Talia, Commissioner of Public Works, City of Middletown.
Dwyer, Council Supervisor, Town of Orland.
Dolly second, from the Farm City Village and Pays Joel.
Chris Fair, Orange County Planning Department.
Brandon Tawil, Orange County Planning Department.
And I'm Morton, Orange County Planning Department.
Melissa, Orange County Planning Department.
Rob Harrington, Senior Transit Planning Planner, Orange County Planning. Third, Legislator, District 17.
Michael Torelli, Office of the Orange County Executive Supervisor.
Sean Arnett, Orange County DPW.
Herb Litz, Graham Peterson Incorporated, also known as GPI.
Thanks.
Lynn is coming into the building now. She's just got through security.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
We will have another in-person member joining us shortly. In the meantime, Raina, if you can please do the online participant roll call.
Absolutely. Online, I'll start with our agents, our partner agencies for state and federal. For NISDOT, we've got Caitlin Holt on the line. For the New York State Thruway Authority, I don't believe we have anyone. Oh, Nancy's.
Nancy too,
Yes,
from New York
yes.
State Thruway Authority.
Thank you, Nancy. I see you now. Thank you so much. And then for MTA, I know I saw him. I guess I didn't. For MTA.
Josh Schneider here from MTA.
Thank you, Josh. Oh, you are. Thank you so much. FHWA. I know I saw got him on there. Got him. You're good. Thank you so much. Welcome, my friend. Anyone else I'm missing from FHWA?
Just me.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone FTA? Any representatives FTA? All right. We have Jay Sheffield also joining us from the New York State, New Jersey Port Authority, as well as several members from our team, including Martha Ekman, Orange County Planning Department. We have Moishi joining us as well. Hello, Travis, Ewald, and then I apologize for Chris Hannon. Did I get that right, Chris?
Yes, you got
Excellent.
that right. I'm representing Barton and LaJudas on behalf of the town of Crawford.
Thank you so much. And then I also have Naomi Klein. Hi, Naomi, thank you. And if I did not, and I apologize, as well as Bert Thielander. And there's another phone number, 845-216-1457. If you could just state your name and affiliation in the chat for the record, we would greatly appreciate it. If I missed anybody's name, I do apologize. Please state your name and affiliation in the chat. Thank you so much. And that will conclude our online roll call.
Raina, thank you. Sir. We're going to move on to a call for citizen participation. Do any members of the public wish to provide commentary to the planning committee?
Bert Thielander would like to do that.
Bert, yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, so I'm from the Pathways Committee, Vision Hudson Valley, and I know I do this every time I participate, but I want to thank OCTC for your support for non-motorized trails within Orange County and the components of the Bikeway Vision. There were three things I wanted to mention briefly. I participated in a webcast recently by Parks and Trails New York group, and they had an economic impact report regarding the Empire State Trail, and it really demonstrated the value of trail development, economic, health, and recreational value. I'm not going to get into going through all the details. I sent a link to Travis Ewald and Alan Sorensen. I hope you read it. There's quite a bit of data about how every dollar invested in trails generates $5 of economic activity. The PTNY collaborated with North Carolina State University. So I think it's really worthwhile, and it demonstrates the value of what we've been trying to do with OCTC, parks, and planning. Two other things. We had a recent Pathways meeting with an array of people about how to accurately measure trail usage. And there's some people on that Pathways Committee that talked about camera use. Travis participated. I think Alan is aware of this. And we wanted to think about propose that OCTC Parks Planning consider funding uh, camera use. We talked about not violating privacy with camera use. And we also talked about the potential value that camera use would have for emergency management response. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, we've had a series of meetings about trying to gather volunteers to complement parks staff in monitoring the Heritage Trail from Monroe to Middletown. We sent in a draft proposal. I think Travis has a copy of that. We wanted him to ask Orange County attorneys to take a look at that. We met with them, I think, a couple years ago to talk about this. So we wanted to inform you of that effort to promote volunteers to complement the work that Parks and Planning is doing in Orange County. So thank you for listening.
Bert, thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
Tony Cardone says, phone number 216.
I think that, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Tony.
Bert,
Thanks, Rob.
thank you again. One other thing I would add with the non-motorized transportation system, it also provides a safer environment for the bike and pedestrian. So I'm going to move on to asking for an approval of the meeting minutes from our May 14th, 2026 meeting. These were included in your materials packets for your review. Are there any questions or concerns with the draft that were provided? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to accept those meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Jacob, second. Jesse. All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Realize I'm going to be bringing this to you in a few minutes when we get to the policy board. That's enough. Communications and announcements. Does anyone have any communications or announcements they would like to share? The policy. Okay, gonna move right along then. Reports and actions on old business. Just in terms of an update, the Build America 250 Act is in the next proposed federal surface transportation reauthorization bill, intended to follow the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Although not yet enacted, the bill outlines major funding levels and program structures for highways, bridges, transit, rail, and safety programs over the next 5 years. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as that moves forward. I think, as you know, we're in the process of developing a transportation on-call RFP so that we'll have a consultant on retainer to work with us to get some of these transportation corridor studies underway. The RFP has received approval from DOT, and we can now be posted for bids. So we're working with Department of General Services to publish that RFP. Also, the Mid-Hudson Valley TMA is closing in on a final draft of a congestion management process update. The draft will go for greater MPO staff review in early July. And we'll continue to update you on that. Are there any other members that have any updates on your projects that you'd like to provide or? Okay. All right, next month. Okay. All right, old business. We've kicked this one around a little bit. Well, first, there's been the update on the 2025 functional classification change request. There's still some coordination that needs to happen with that. Chris and I were speaking last night. We just got communication back with respect to additional information that was being requested of us. So,
For which components?
That was related to the package that was, so the official request that was submitted to DOT, spatial data, et cetera. There were updates that needed to be made to that, and then we just heard back from them. They were requesting more information.
yeah, so we literally just got that like at
Yeah.
4:55 last night.
And forward that to us so we can tell, prepare the plot,
So
or is it stuff that you have?
it's likely things that we can manage in-house,
Okay.
as far as the updates that we need to provide, but
Yeah.
as part of the next phase, we're gonna be starting to reach out and coordinate with jurisdictions.
Yeah, so what, Gedalia, certainly if there's things that we need input from, we'll definitely reach out to you. And then we'll set up a meeting just to coordinate on it. But we did finally hear back, so we just didn't have time to like call through it all, and but we'll keep you posted.
You mind sharing that?
I don't have a problem sharing it. Yeah.
Please.
So I'll coordinate with Chris on that.
Okay.
The other item that's been around for that we've been kicking around a little bit is the voting membership discussion. I would like to continue the discussion that we had at our last meeting, outlining our proposed voting membership restructuring. And I'm going to ask Chris to provide a presentation on this. I think we have a good recommendation, and I'm hoping the consensus of the board will be that it is as well. So we really tried to come up with a refinement of the permanent voting membership that is better recognizes the both population and the geographies that we're getting. So, Chris,
Sure. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, so we just want to follow up on the discussion that we had at our last planning committee meeting. We got some input from you all, took that back, and then refined our staff recommendation. So we'll step through our current voting member structure and our proposed one and the differences between them. Next slide, please. So in our current structure, we have 7 permanent voting members, 4 represent agencies, and 3 represent the 3 cities that we have in Orange County. And then there's 8 rotating voting members from our 4 different our 4 different types of areas. One of those being our villages. So that means that we currently have 15 voting members and our quorum is 8 to be present. Next slide. Was there one in between those? Oh, that's weird. Right here, there should be the map that's included in everybody's packet for our current voting structure. And this is one that it's not anything new. We looked at it last time. Yeah, sorry that it's not coming across online. But this just sort of describes how we do have distinct regions, but the villages are sort of interspersed across our regions, and expecting villages to coordinate one lump like this is a little tricky. One second while we just talk.
Yeah.
I guess a better copy of.
Yeah, just,
have the copy. I think they have it.
Yeah. Well, do folks online?
Yeah.
I guess I want to.
I guess I can hope it. For those of you online,
That's the price for not showing up.
there,
Oh, did it?
there
Yep,
it
there.
goes. Yep, there we go. How's that look, guys?
very good troubleshooting.
Thanks for it.
You got it.
So that's our baseline. That's where we are now. And then we can jump to the next slide. So this is our staff proposed voting structure. We would go up to 11 permanent voting members. The 4 agencies would be represented. The 3 cities would be represented as they are now. And then we would add jurisdictions that have more than 30,000 as a population. So that would add the town of Newburgh, the town of Wallkill, the village of Curious Shoal, and the town of Warwick.
Should be the town of Powntree.
The town of Foundry. We can make that change.
So you stick to towns.
Okay.
Okay.
The co-term, that's.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. In addition to those 11 permanent voting members, we're suggesting 8 rotating voting members, and we redefined the areas. So now you'll see that there's 5 different areas. East Central.
I
Go ahead.
have one comment, because I understand your presentation. The only thing that I think is should be added is one small village should be represented on this committee, because those villages are very different than the larger towns and even the regular sized towns. So I do feel that somebody from one of the smaller villages should be able to have, like, they should be able to pick someone to represent the villages. Cause you guys are like a city, really, not really, with your infrastructure and stuff, not the way like the village of Unionville or the village of Otisville.
Actually, Village of Walden participated for years.
Right. They're still on, yeah.
So she's
So,
making sure you're not kicked out.
so what you're suggesting is in addition to the rotating members.
Add one more rotating member for the smaller villages.
But are you suggesting that, let's say, the village of Walden will be representing the village of Otisville, which is 30 miles away?
I'm saying that they're representing, so right now. Walden's in here because of their area that they're in, but we're, with how this is set up, we're bumping out. I mean, we're bumping out the villages.
Well, no.
Villages were represented until now also.
Right, they had 2.
Out of many.
Right,
Now it's down to 1 out of 1.
and they're really like not
Well,
they're a village, but like they're
I just think
large
that
enough to be,
one of the districts could conceivably select the village of Walden.
They
to be
could.
their
they
representative.
could, but
And so could, Cornwall and Hudson could be selected for that region. So,
So
potentially they could,
this point is a little different.
right,
Till now, the regional selections were only towns. You're saying we should give either village or town out of that.
Yeah, it doesn't,
Okay.
isn't it determined
Instead
based
of-
on, like, for example, in this one district, the north, let's say the east central area, if there's a village in there, it doesn't have to be a town supervisor.
Until now, there was. Till now, it had to be a town.
Or had to be a
Whenever,
town.
yeah, they have to modify the language. What he's suggesting is you modify the language, it's either a town or a village within that
That could be the representative.
that represents it.
Either or.
Either or.
Yes.
Yeah, the village is covered.
well, if you had a village within a town, that town could not be on the committee.
Definitely.
Well, they weren't.
Yeah.
Correct?
Before they did not allow.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we don't
Montgomery
want
was
that
not
to happen.
allowed to be on,
If the town is.
right, so I don't have a village in my town, so that's not a problem for me, but I would think like. Some towns who have villages in them, they're not gonna be able to have a representative. And I do think that towns are very different as far as a municipality than the smaller villages.
But his suggestion made add a few villages.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah, you
the
could-
area could select the village.
Right, for eligibility, it really opens up more
The-
villages.
More
It
villages
does.
than one.
Right,
I-
cause like Montgomery
I-
has
I
3
doubt
villages
that's gonna
within it,
happen.
Maybrook, Montgomery and
You don't
Walden.
think they have an equal opportunity to be selected as a town supervisor? A mayor?
If-
Well,
if
I
the
think it
bylaws
would be
permit it.
harder.
Until now, the bylaws didn't permit them. Now the bylaws will permit them.
That's right.
I don't necessarily care, I don't know how complicated that makes it by adding another member and then.
It's only the
It does.
four issues.
Right.
Right.
well, we're gonna take a closer look at the towns and the villages that are in each one of these areas. So,
You have to.
yeah, but
Fair deal.
here, let's step back for a second.
It does open up.
Oh, you have to
actually more
hear.
opportunities.
Oh, that's
for
fine.
villages.
You have it here.
By
Yeah.
which way? By
Our proposed land.
your current proposed? Because you can have a mayor become a representative member for an entire region. for an entire
Exactly.
Yeah,
area. Yeah.
Which is different than what it used to be. Until now, it's only town supervisors. Or town officials.
yeah.
All right, well, we can just step through the last bit of information and then continue the discussion. Could you go to the slide above this one?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So related to the 8 rotating voting members, we have our 5 areas, and we're proposing that the East Central gets 2 rotating members, Hudson River area gets 2, Northern area gets 2, and then our Central and West Central areas get 1. And that is because those areas have 2 permanent voting members already. So now, with that information in mind, thanks for having that. You can kind of see what we're working towards. This gives each area representation of 3 voting members, whether they're permanent or rotating.
And I think the geography, by having smaller geographic areas, it should be easier to coordinate amongst those municipalities. And we also factored in, there's some common interest in the areas that we've defined. So.
And just to see this the rest of the way through, this would change our current voting structure to 19 total members, and quorum would increase from 8 to 10 to see the whole picture. And then lastly, these are the different groups of these are the different municipalities that fall into the area.
This is not in the package.
No, this was recently added, and bolded municipalities are permanent members from these areas.
It's helpful you share this as well.
So what this, we asked the members to consider this. I think it's a very well thought out recommendation. We put a lot of time into this, and I think it ensures that the most populous areas in the county, do have a permanent voting seat in the council. So we think that's important.
Can you go back to the list of all the municipalities?
Yes, sir.
No, yes.
Yeah.
So what would be helpful on that one is indicating how many representatives there will be on that sheet right there, sort of in parentheses. So looking at it, Southwestern, 1. So if the Southwestern has only 1 and the town of Warwick, it will be City of Port Jervis, town of Warwick, and +1, right?
So
Yes.
so my question is, since the town of Warwick is a permanent member, does that mean the villages within the town of Warwick can't have a representative?
No, they could restrict them. Yeah, they could.
Well, then I'm back to the villages need to have their own representative.
Okay.
But they do,
Or
'cause you
or
have,
you want to suggest that if a town is represented, the villages within that town shouldn't. It's either or.
Right. Correct.
So what we're suggesting is the village, if the town is a permanent voting member, a village within that town could still be a representative.
because that's the way I was raised. You have the town Montgomery, and then if the other villages choose to have a representative, they could.
Yeah,
You're not
Yeah.
picking one over the other.
Well, the town of Montgomery is not a permanent member.
well, within, let's say that northern area, town of Newburgh's permanent member, there'll be 2 other representatives that'll be elected. And there's 3 towns and 3 villages, so.
So what's your?
So my concern is go back to the thing. Look how many, we have in the southwestern area. Only one other municipality can be picked. That's not in bold.
We don't know which villages are in Warwick. Can you just give us a geographical lesson here?
Greenwood Lake and Village of Warwick.
Lake Florida and Warwick.
Yeah, as well.
In Warwick.
Yeah.
I see.
They don't even have Florida up there. Florida's not up there.
Well, I think they put Florida in West.
I
Central.
believe that West Central area.
I don't know, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. That was a question that I had was, did you pull the village of Florida out of the towns?
It looks like they did.
Yeah,
Actually, we didn't. So that's just, I think, a typo on the list.
well, it's also on that color map too.
Did we take?
Yeah.
Population.
We're gonna have to go back and check that.
Is
So-
that,
What was the West
is
Central
it
area?
this one here?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
And this is, we're saying that this is in the wrong region currently?
Well, it's part of the town of Warwick,
Part of the town of Warwick.
Okay.
Make it a region.
but that will change the demographic numbers.
It's gonna be a slight
the
refinement.
population
I think we
numbers.
would pull that into I should have caught that. It's,
Into the Southwest.
Florida should be in the southwestern.
I had a circle.
Yeah.
What is that? So my time now.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
that's- Thank you for noticing that.
your concern is that, and rightfully so, I agree with that, there's 15 municipalities.
So there's 10,
One.
right, there's 10 in our group that aren't permanent members, you only get to pick one. And there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 that aren't permanent members in the Western Central is where you only pick one.
And your concerns with the villages.
Well, I think that either the villages have their own one representative that represents them. Or if the village is in the town and one of them is represented, the other ones are not, the way it is
You
currently.
can't have one village represent all the interests of the villages because the village of Otisville doesn't have the same interests as the village of Highland Falls. Right? They're completely separate.
Yeah.
They have no obligation. Now, me, on the other hand, I have an obligation to represent the three villages within the town. Residents that are there. They're
Well, that's why I said either way.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, I don't think you can have one representative from a village and think that they're in any way gonna represent all of the villages. The other option you have is to say, since the town, or if there's a town voting member, that one of the villages within that town should not be a voting member. But that doesn't limit you to saying the village of Otisville can't be a voting member because the
Right,
town of Mount Hope
right,
may not be a voting member.
right.
But I think, we might want to look at it, because I think it would be unfair if the village of Florida mayor and the town of Warwick supervisor were both voting members, and we're cutting out the town of Wawayanda or town of Mount Hope.
Yeah.
That's unreasonable.
And also giving some residents two voices.
Right.
Yeah.
Town association, it's Florida.
It's village and town, then they have-
They have two votes for the town.
Votes,
of Warwick.
yeah.
Right.
Both, they're all
Exactly.
town
And the
residents.
association pick member voters?
Yeah,
So
But I think it's based on our.
Yeah.
well, it's the supervisors from those areas.
Yes, they have to get together and they have to
Mhm.
vote.
So for example, in the town of Montgomery, which is similar, they have three villages.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want the village of Walden and the town of Montgomery being both voting members. So maybe the change.
That was in the Bible.
Okay.
Right,
Always.
Yeah, it's true, but if you have a rep from the town of Montgomery, they may not necessarily have the thoughts of the village of
I agree
Walden or the
100%.
village of Mayberg. They're gonna be concerned specifically
Having
with
been a
their.
mayor myself, I fully agree with
Yeah,
that.
That would be my word. Yeah, it's part of all, the whole but they're gonna be concerned with their little section of the pie and not necessarily be
But technically,
invested.
our job,
Everybody votes for them.
yeah, our job as voting members is to represent the entire area.
That's right.
The
All your
entire,
constituents.
right. Well, not just your constituents in Palm Tree, but also if
your
you're,
constituents.
right,
There's a
in the
town
entire
village.
area, right? So Mount Hope, Wawayanda, they're all as part of our area, so we are here to represent everybody.
Also, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not the number of votes, so it's. We basically rule by consensus, everybody has to agree.
right,
So there's no 10 to 2 or 10 to 4, or
right.
everybody has to agree, otherwise the project doesn't go anywhere.
It has to be.
That's all the
unanimous.
bylaws. So
I mean,
it's by consensus, so it's not really, I think we're getting too much bogged down
Into the weeds.
into the number of people, number of members and all that stuff. As long as there is some fair representation of different geographic locations in the county.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't get bogged down with the numbers and then quorum and all that stuff. Otherwise, we're gonna be just paralyzed. You're gonna have 10 people or 12 people, they must be here. They're not gonna be here. We know that. You know. Past
Right.
experience tells us that. So we may have to change our bylaws then to accept virtual voting. We have to, if we're gonna increase the number so much for
Yeah.
quorum, then we're gonna have to change the way that we vote. About virtual, and that starts another discussion.
I know in our proposal, it would increase the voting membership by 2. I do think, within each of those areas that we're proposing, it's really incumbent on the elected officials in each of those areas to get together and come reach their own consensus in terms of who's going to represent the areas for the at-large member representatives that are elected. So you have your permanent voting members, and then if we can go to that last slide, Raina, showing that, yeah. So within the southwestern area, then, those municipalities that are not permanent voting members would get together and select their additional representative. Granted, it's a long list, but there are probably a few of those, villages that are probably not going to be that active. Others may want to be very active. So, but they're going to just have to hate to say it this way, but get together and figure it out. But we'll
Just historically, since we modified the bylaws last time by adding villages, other than Curtis, Joel, and Walden, nobody volunteered. Every year, county sent out letter to every village saying we need 2 out of all of you. And Walden, Curtis, Joel were there since the bylaws were modified. It's not like that there's some big desire to participate. But the towns that represent those villages, yes, are doing a good enough job.
I agree, but I don't think you necessarily want to exclude them for future, because in the future, there may very well be somebody that does become invested. You don't want to rob them of that opportunity to be able to advocate for their village. Up to now, whether it's apathy or whatever, you don't want to take away the opportunity from
But
somebody.
Theoretically, villages are going to have much more options now. Until now, it was 2 out of all villages. Theoretically, you could have a village represent each of these sections.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, go ahead.
But not if you have the town representative.
As proposed right now, that's not a rule. Just a kind of a thought to prevent, say, the town of Warwick and one of our villages from taking over our entire thing,
Well, that's
Which I
something
don't
to
foresee.
consider.
But it's a valid concern.
So let me just think this through. So like the town of Wallkill.
Well, then maybe the southwestern area should have 2, I know you don't want to do that, but 2, elected members besides having 2 permanent members. Only because my point is that there's so many municipalities in that section. There's 10 that aren't permanent members, and you're only gonna pick 1.
How
The
many-
eastern central area has 10 and you pick 2 there.
It's
Yeah.
just because with the exception of Warwick, it's a very low populated
Right.
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
But for example, in your area, how many are in Warwick? How many villages?
So very,
Warwick free.
So it's not really 10 because Warwick and 3 of its municipalities are covered.
yeah, but we're not gonna do it that way. Where Warwick is, if Warwick is the permanent member, then none of the villages in Warwick can become a member.
Those be represented.
But then
But that's not how
Walden
they,
has a concern that if Montgomery becomes a member, then the village of Walden gets shut out and has to rely on.
But that was until now also, nothing changed. Montgomery could have become a member even with the current setup, and then you fall out. The Walden falls off anyway.
That's true.
So it's not a concern. If somebody, Montgomery would have been the chosen one.
Um,
We're gonna kick it around a little bit more.
I think we'll kick it around a
In-house.
little bit more. I mean, I'm thinking through like, you know, in the case of town of Warwick, we have 3 municipalities. You're already a permanent voting member.
So there could be 4 municipalities.
Well, if I do 4, then
I'm just saying the town of Warwick is.
For
4
municipalities.
yeah, yes.
And Port Jewis, so you have 5.
So right now we have, you know, there'll be 3 representatives from each of the regions. So we wanted that to be, you know, equal representation. In the town of Warwick, you already have 3 villages. I don't know. I mean, one thought is to add a rule that if you have a town with X number of villages, 3 or, you know, we have,
Or you could say if they're a permanent member.
if they're a permanent, the town that's permanent voting member.
That, I like that because
Yeah,
that doesn't exclude
villages.
Montgomery.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would just basically eliminate the possibility of any of the villages within or
More.
becoming a member.
Yeah.
But it does not preclude
Yep,
Montgomery and Walton being a member at the same time.
Also,
So that's, I like that idea. If a town that is a permanent member, a village within that town cannot become a member.
Correct.
So that's pretty much just cancels out villages within Morgan, which I'm not opposed to.
let's make a note of that. Chris and I are gonna put our heads together and
Is there any other?
we want to think it through to make sure.
Well, that's really the
creating
only
another-
Yeah, Newburgh doesn't have a town and Walk Hill has a city, so.
And
I think that could.
Curious Knoll and Palm Tree are the same
Oh,
municipality.
Is that gonna, now,
No.
now KJ can't become a voting member too. You're gonna have to get rid of one of your signs.
He only
Okay.
owns one.
Oh, he has a KJ and a palm tree.
Oh, he does?
Bragged about that last night. My handwritten.
Now you want your side?
I got this from Elm.
Yeah, yes, I did. I think that might solve the problem, but I don't want to like,
No, digest it, doesn't have
Yeah.
to
I
happen
want
now.
to give you an opportunity to digest it. We'll go back and just double check, but I think that is the solution. In which case we'll be back at our next meeting to ask you to adopt it.
Put it in the resolution format or something.
Okay.
Wording.
Yeah,
So
so I
there'll be a
But
process.
why don't you share this again? But I suggest that you show the villages underneath the town that it's located within, so, because I didn't know that Warwick had 3 villages in it.
Yeah, oh, we could share this. There's a couple refinements that need to be made.
Montgomery
There
does
is,
too.
there's a process, so it won't be like, what you'll be doing is, we're gonna ask at the next meeting for consensus.
Yeah.
So we can put it out for 45 days.
Yeah, 45
Oh,
days.
so
So,
that's-
yeah, so it will be a little bit of time. And we're scheduled, our next meeting is for August, and then after that is October.
When in August?
13.
So if we can get consensus at our next meeting, that we could open for public comment period and have that be completed by the time we're back together.
It's good.
Now, are you guys sure about the 10 members to be present as for the quorum for any vote, for any action? Is that what we want? 10 members to have minimum, to have any action? Is that something that's going on?
Well, it's, the percentage.
No, I know that. but
Over
when we
50.
increase it, we're struggling to get whatever number of members.
Well, I think if we make it so they could be virtual, I think that would make it easier.
Yeah, we'll have to change it to virtual and then.
Yeah.
Be Alan sitting here.
By himself.
One by himself. Yeah.
I'll
If you make it-
We'll be here too, you guys know.
will be downstairs.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, I think it's okay to have it virtual for NISTA and MTA, because they're virtual anyway.
No offense, yeah. We're happy to have Nicole with us.
I think we'll be here.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nicole.
Just think about that. We may have to do it virtual and then, the counterpoint for virtual is nobody's gonna show
Or
up.
they could bring, or they could send a proxy for someone.
Yeah, but it doesn't-
We have to, I know.
We have that
I
already.
didn't think we did. I thought it was just like their engineer.
No, they said sit up.
I said it last time. Why is these two?
I understand.
Or at least give them a pass on voting virtue.
I think I think that's the requirement. He's talking about MTA and the other.
I think we,
That's
I think
fine.
we're gonna have to do it across the board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll come back with, that will be part of our recommendation. But if, I'm hearing pretty broad consensus to allow for a virtual voting opportunity, so.
And
You can have it up to 25%, or you still need to have 75% present.
Just so you know, like, all the real work and decisions are made right here at the table, so come on.
Yeah, it's important to be in person. I agree.
is there,
In person, 75%, 80%.
We'll take a look at some other vision. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
for 10 members present, that makes it an even number. Shouldn't it be odd for voting just in
No,
the
it's,
event?
it's unanimous. So if one person votes no, it doesn't pass.
Okay.
So that doesn't matter.
In terms
That's a
of
very good
quorum.
question, though, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have, everyone's got to agree.
Yeah.
So, this is a very helpful discussion. I want to thank everyone for your input. That's the way the meeting's supposed to work.
Well, one more shot at this. Some towns.
No more change.
No, don't change it. No. Just to give you an example, right now you see some people active in there and showing up to every meeting.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden supervisor changes or mayor changes and nobody shows up for years. Town of Wallkill, I love them. They're our neighbors. They're very good people. But when Dan DePew was here, he was here in every meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Getting involved in every little thing. When Dan is gone, then the whole, nobody comes from the wall.
Maybe they wouldn't elect. Were they elected as the representative for that group?
He was here, elected or not, Dan and,
Yeah, I wasn't elected and I was coming.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, a lot of people.
That's ready.
Yeah, they all come. No, yeah, anybody's welcome.
Somebody, because the idea of representation by these groups are that they're representing everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they also can come themselves, but that's, I'm just saying that as an example. Some
Okay.
political winds shift and then we don't see any.
But it's also on us and the association of towns to make sure that if, people are not showing up and doing their job, we make switches and encourage and Denise can yell at them, and scold them for not showing up.
Yeah.
Just all the fun things in life.
Responsibility.
Yes.
Okay,
And my father, that's enough.
Right.
all right, I think we know what we need to do. We'll come back in August. Thank you again. All right, we're gonna move along. New business. Gonna review the Mid-Hudson Valley TMA 2026 certification review report. I got him. Are you on?
Yep. Yep,
Okay.
I'm on. And Raina and Chris, I'm not sure if it's easy, if it's easier for you to make me a co-host so I can scroll through the
That-
report on my end. Yep.
Yes, like you read my mind. That's
Okay,
exactly.
perfect.
In 1 second.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Um,
Give me one moment.
no problem.
Alternative host. There we are. God, I gotcha. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Sorry for the delay, everyone. I apologize.
Thank
Yeah, I got him. I had a feeling we're gonna have an issue because you're out of network when we're not
Okay.
done yet. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just first thing. I apologize.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. And yeah, I apologize that I don't have a slide presentation, which would make this a lot easier and easier to see as well. Unfortunately, at the moment, any sort of slides have to go through a pretty extensive approval process, even for a routine MPO meeting that has external stakeholders. So apologize for that on my end. So I don't know if you want to just pull up the report and I can just go through it briefly, and yeah, if you want to sort of scroll through as I'm going through. I'm going to go mostly in order here. So, and I'm going to just try to cover things that are especially relevant to this MPO, since there are three MPOs in the TMA, and some of the recommendations and commendations only apply to few of the MPOs, and some apply to all. So, just as a recap, though, for folks that may not remember or are unfamiliar, certification review occurs because FHWA and FTA are required every 4 years to certify the transportation planning process in metropolitan areas covering 200,000 or more people. These are known as transportation management areas, or TMAs. And what we're doing is verifying that the planning process in these areas meets federal requirements. So OCTC is subject to certification reviews because you share the Poughkeepsie-Newburgh urban area, which has over 200,000 people. And then you share it with the Ulster County Transportation Council and the Dutchess County Transportation Council. So, what a certification review consists of, and this is all specified in the report. I know that Stacy had gone over some of the findings from the report previously, but a certification review consists of us, the federal agencies, engaging in a desk review where we look at the MPO's required planning products, as well as other planning studies that you've done, and other planning materials and your overall planning process. And then we do a site visit where we have a conversation with MPO staff and members about the various topic areas that we've selected. And finally, we produce a report that you see here with our findings. So the final report in this case was issued on April 2nd of this year. The site visit took place in a hybrid format back last September, so September 2025. We met in person for one day with the staff of the three MPOs, as well as NISDOT, both the NISDOT Region 8 and main office in Newburgh, New York. And I want to say thanks again to OCTC, and especially Stacy Butler, for arranging the facility for that. I know that wasn't easy. And I would also note, for your area, we really valued the participation of Rob Parrington, providing the perspective of transit in the at the county level. So the goal of the certification review really is to identify opportunities for improvement, and also to highlight best practices that may be of value for other MPOs to learn from. So the certification review, the findings consist of several different categories. We, as the federal team, FHWA and FTA, we do identify any corrective actions that are needed. These are areas where the federal team has determined that regulations are not being met. Beyond that, we have recommendations to where we see opportunities to improve the planning process and potentially go beyond regulations for the MPOs. And we also have commendations. These are areas that we think are national best practices that should be shared far and wide, and that other regions and other MPOs can learn from. Here in New York, we've also created this category called notable practices, because we think the MPOs do a lot that may not rise to the level of a national best practice, but still deserves to be recognized, and is still worth sharing, maybe more locally at a state level. So across the three MPOs, the good news is we didn't identify any corrective actions. for any of the three MPOs during the certification review, and that is different than the past couple cycles. So that's very good news. We had 10 total recommendations and 4 commendations across for the whole TMA. Some of those applied to both some of those apply to all 3 MPOs, some of them only apply to 1 or 2. And we identified 7 notable practices again across the 3 MPOs. So generally, our observation, the MPOs are meeting the federal requirements and really doing excellent work with very limited resources, and the 3 MPOs are coordinating extensively where possible among staff. So kudos for that. And as I just noted, we recognize that you're doing it with across the 3 MPOs, very limited dedicated MPO staff for a region and for a 3-county area your size. So that's no small feat. If you want to scroll up to the recommendations, the top of the recommendations, and I can go through the ones that pertain to OCTC. This is a lingering recommendation from the previous certification review, and it relates to Native Nations consultation. You do have 4 tribal nations or Native nations that are federally recognized in your area. They have identified areas of interest. So these are not designated tribal lands, but they are areas of interest where where nations have an interest in projects and plans and programs that the MPO may be undertaking. So this was a recommendation that the MPOs formally develop Native Nations consultation procedures either together or for each individual MPO as is required. The next recommendation, we note that the MPOs do an excellent job already with resource sharing and coordinating on certain work products. Alan mentioned the congestion management process, which we'll get to in a moment as well. But the freight study is the regional freight analysis is another example where 3 MPOs work together to develop a finalized work product. And the MPO is taking advantage of opportunities through the MPOs are taking advantage of opportunities through NISAMPO, NISDOT, coordination with NIMTICS here south and the MAP Forum to share resources where it's appropriate and where it makes the planning process more efficient. So our recommendation here is just to continue to look for opportunities to do that and combine work products and efforts where it makes sense. So it may make sense to develop joint financial plans for long range plans, since estimating costs and revenue sources is a really challenging process, and coming up with appropriate inflation factors as you're developing your long range plan. Coordination of safety action plans, and recognizing that to avoid duplication of effort. For OCTC especially, we recognize that there's been you've been especially short-staffed among the three MPOs over the last few years since the last certification review, and so exploring how to use those shared cost initiatives to carry out studies that have been identified in your UPWP for a long time, but that you haven't been able to complete. And a lot of these studies relate to safety and active transportation. And so there's really an opportunity there. And Alan, thank you for mentioning the task order or the on-call consultant contract that is really going to assist with completing those studies. And I'm glad to see that recommendation is being addressed in part. So great. And then if we can go to the next page, please. There's an opportunity under the IIJA. It provided a lot more provisions for addressing housing in the transportation planning process. And we think all 3 MPOs that are part of the TMA are especially well suited to address this because of the coordination work that the staff already do with folks at the county level that are involved in housing. So it's not to supplant the role of housing experts and those working on housing at the county level, but to further engage them in the transportation planning process. And then the congestion management process, Alan, I'm really glad to hear that it's nearing completion. That's a combined work product for all three MPOs. And we're, we look forward to seeing any new ways that it addresses non-recurring congestion. So, special events that occur that may bring congestion to your area or may, create spillover traffic from events in other regions. So we'll look forward to that. And then we recommended that planning deliverables be consistent with the Region 8 ITS architecture, and we are more than happy at our level in the New York division to provide more technical assistance there and to work with you and NISDOT to do that. And then for the tip, this was an OCTC specific recommendation. We recognize that there are several or quite a few projects that have been in your tip for multiple cycles. And so focusing on getting those projects obligated or evaluating whether they're still the desired projects of the MPO will help to make sure that the projects that are in your tip are aligned with the current goals and objectives of the LRTP and the desires of the members that are around the table now. So that was a recommendation, and we did ask for a work plan by the end of the year. So that's a recommendation there. And then we can scroll down a little bit further. We do recommend that the MPOs continue to draw down balances of planning funds that FHWA distributes for activities that have been programmed but have not been completed as yet. You can scroll down further. The next one doesn't have to do with OCTC. Okay, and major projects planning. This is an opportunity for the MPO to continue to enhance its role by ensuring that projects come out of the metropolitan planning process. So we're looking for more opportunities for planning environmental linkage studies. And we think that the MPOs are very well suited, again, to engage in those types of studies because of the access to environmental information resources that you have at the county level. And then encourage member agencies with projects that are likely to be complex and on the federal side likely to require an environmental assessment or an environmental impact statement to identify funding for those projects, project construction prior to initiating the environmental review process. If we scroll down to safety, the recommendation here is to work with NISDOT to explore different ways to program HSIP funds, particularly on the local road system. We know that NISDOT's CLEAR system has assisted with that to some degree, but there are further opportunities to improve upon that. So we can go to down to the commendation section. We really found it very remarkable the extent to which all three MPOs address the required planning factor of enhancing travel and tourism. Again, this is a federal requirement that your planning process address that, but it is something that in a lot of places can get overlooked. And all three of the MPOs, including OCTC, in your long range plan, really brought forward an extensive set of data on the economic impacts and the transportation needs of tourists and the impact and the transportation impacts that tourism has in the area. And so that was very remarkable. If you go to the next page here. And then under Unified Planning Work Program, we noted that the MPOs have been very successful. Again, all three MPOs with leveraging completed studies to be able to access capital funding under the statewide solicitations for TAP and CMAQ funds. And I know in OCTC's case, you do manage your own pot of CMAQ funds, but generally just being able to leverage, use studies that you've completed through your planning process to leverage those funds. And I think there continue to be more opportunities to do that. So if we can, I'll just note a few of the notable practices as well. You don't have to scroll through. One that was specific to OCTC was the extent to which your planning process and your long-range plan address the needs of the agricultural sector. I know, Alan, during the certification review session, we talked a lot about the value of the short line railroad and moving agricultural goods within Orange County and throughout the region. So that was something that was quite remarkable. And then sorry, does someone have a question? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good, Gavin, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I thought I heard something. And then continued efforts of all three MPOs. So during the last certification review, we actually gave a commendation for the work that the MPOs did in support of completing the Empire State Trail. And during this certification review, we issued a further commendation, recognizing that the efforts that the MPOs continue to make, not just the completion of the Empire State Trail, but ensuring that the trail network continues to expand, and that the trail network provides value not just for tourism, but to enhance safety and enhance the access of residents and others in the region to meet their daily needs. We thought the MPO's involvement in further thinking through the value of the trail network in the planning process was really remarkable. And then a final note on notable practices that pertain to OCTC, the Mid-Hudson Valley TMA regional freight analysis, the inclusion of a large truck crash analysis, and actually quantifying the extent of the safety problem and conflicts between trucks and other vehicles, and using that to inform safety action plans. We thought that was another notable practice that was worth sharing. A lot of freight analyses don't go into that level of detail on regional on truck crashes and really identifying the actual extent of the problem. So with that, during the I'll just note that members of the public did have an opportunity to comment on the certification review process via comment form, and we did receive several very helpful comments that did inform our findings, and those comments are contained in the report with personally identifying information redacted, unless a commenter specifically wanted to be identified. And I just want to thank the MPO staff throughout the certification review process across all three MPOs. We rely on MPO staff cooperation, and that was especially true in this case. Stacy, especially for arranging the facilities I talked about, Rob for his insight on transit, Alan for his insights on a lot of the visioning element of the long range plan and the freight movements in the region and the importance of freight to economic activity, and Rob for his insights on transit. And I know Chris joined the MPO well after the on-site certification review, but thanks for making sure that I had everything I needed to discuss this with you today. So next steps, as Alan said earlier, you're already addressing some of the recommendations from this report, but we are here to continue to assist at FHWA and FTA. I know our technical assistance and training opportunities are still very limited right now, and I hope those continue to come back. But at the division level, please feel free to ask, and if you see opportunities for us to assist with implementing recommendations here. And with that, I know I went through that quickly, so if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Got him. Thank you so much for that. Any questions from the members?
No.
Okay. Well, very good. I think we'll move on.
Excellent, thank you, Gautam.
Thank you. So next on our agenda, a review of the proposed Town of Crawford TIP amendment, administrative modification. Town of Crawford reached out to us the request to add 2 phases to the New York State DOT Route 52 pedestrian improvement project. This is a TAB-funded project. It will improve pedestrian safety and mobility by constructing new curbs, sidewalks, crosswalks to meet ADA requirements. on New York State 152 and Seabolt Avenue or Seabolt Lane. The two phases that are being added have to do with right-of-way acquisition. So if there are many of our members have come across this in developing their projects. So it's right-of-way acquisition and right-of-way incidental. The proposed changes moves 104,000 from the construction phase into two right-of-way phases to address acquisitions that arose during the early designs. There was no additional funding request to OCTC, and the town of Crawford is prepared to cover any overages incurred later in this project. The project timeline has been modified. A detailed design phase obligation date will be pushed from fiscal year 2025, fiscal year 2027, and the construction phases will be moved from 2027 to 2028. Chris Hannett at Department of Judas is on the. You should be joining us on the call.
Yep, I'm still here.
So, Chris, thank you for being on the call with us. Are there any questions from the members? I think this one's pretty straightforward. So
Just a couple of technical things that we should talk about offline on the dates, the FFYs.
Okay.
Usually you obligate your detailed design funds up front. So if you obligated your preliminary already, you probably already obligated your detail. So I think we can talk about that with our local projects unit offline here, as long as everyone would be amenable to that. It would just be about the dates of what federal fiscal year they would begin.
Okay. Nicole, thank you for that. So the direction we're looking, it's technically an administrative modification. As long as there's consensus here, our staff will work with DOT to initiate the administrative modification.
But whose project is this?
Town of Crawford. Crawford.
Are they listed in the tip or they're
Yeah.
modifying the DOT project? Because this is Route 52, which is a DOT highway.
Yeah, but it's a CAP, transportation alternatives
Who
program.
was the applicant? Crawford?
Crawford.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. We're gonna move on. Next, we're gonna go discuss the CMAQ performance measure target adoption, and I'm gonna ask Chris to lead us in that discussion.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alan. Okay, yeah, all set. Okay, so we'll review a brief presentation related to setting our congestion mitigation air quality performance measure targets for the third performance period. So if you could go to the next slide. So per federal guidance, OCTC is required to establish 2- and 4-year targets for traffic congestion measures in the Poughkeepsie-Newburgh urbanized area for each 4-year performance period. Targets have to be set for 2 congestion measures. The first one is annual hours of peak hour excessive delay per capita, or PHED, and the percent of non-single occupancy vehicles, vehicle commuter trips, or non-SOV. The third performance period began January 1st, 2026 and runs through December 31st, 2029. OCTC and NISDOT must establish the same performance targets by October 1st, 2026 to report to FHWA. OCTC is responsible for establishing targets for the entire Poughkeepsie-Newburgh urban area. And just note that there are no ramifications for us not meeting these CMAQ targets that we set today. So the first metric we'll talk about is percent non-SOV travel. This data is sourced from the 5-year American Community Survey that's posted by the U.S. Census Bureau. Non-single occupancy vehicles, commuter trips include those who carpool, use public transportation, walk to work, and other means such as taking taxis, cycling, motorcycles, or work from home. And for your reference, we've been through this process for the last performance period that was done in 2022. Our targets for the second performance period are listed above on the right side of this slide. You can see that we only have data through 2023 or for our 2020, for our 2-year target from the last performance period. And you can see we actually exceeded that, largely as a result of the percent of work from home commutes and commuters. Yeah. So you can go back to the last one, right? But yeah, thanks. So for performance period 3, OCTC staff recommends the targets of 30.5% and 31.0% for the 2 and 4 year targets respectively. This accounts for our anticipated decline in work from home percentages over the next 2 years, but an overall increase in percent non-SOV trips resulting from our ongoing investments in non-single occupancy vehicle centric projects. Any questions before we move on to the next metric? Cool. So we'll discuss per peak hours of excessive delay per capita. This is a measure of the hours of delay during peak traffic periods, which are weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. and 3 to 7 p.m. On the national highway system. And in this case, excessive delay means travel is reduced to 20 miles per hour or 60% of the posted speed limit, whichever is greater. For our reference, we included the performance targets set in our last period. And for performance period 3, OCTC staff recommends the targets of 6.4 hours and 6.2 hours for 2 and 4 year targets, respectively. We anticipate the trends observed pre and post COVID recovery will continue. And please note that the significant decline in population from 2021 to 2022 that you can see above the bars, that was the result of the urban area boundary being redrawn. There's a notable population like diving down towards New Jersey that when it was redrawn is not included.
Yeah.
So OCTC staff determine these targets based on review of available data, past target setting experience, and current regional planning goals. NISDOT and Dutchess County Transportation Council also reviewed these targets and agreed they were acceptable. If the planning committee agrees with these targets, we'll look to get formal OCTC endorsement of these targets with resolution 2026-10 in the upcoming policy board meeting. So, end of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. I know it's a wordy one.
Chris, very good. I think the analysis is very well reasoned. Our targets are, pretty conservative. And we ask for the board's consensus to meet those goals.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good work. Thanks. Next OCTC meeting dates for reference. Unless otherwise noted, the next 3 meetings will be from 1 to 3 in classroom number 4 back at the Fire Training Center, which is at 9 Training Center Lane, New Hampton, New York.
I'm taking a book off to.
Welcome, guys. Your August meeting will be a lot better.
So the upcoming meetings, and I'll repeat this after the next meeting, will be August 13th, October 8th, and December 3rd. Motion to adjourn planning committee. Denise?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone need